Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Photographer Profile. My name is Nathan Rupert, and I started this channel to give photographers a worldwide platform to share their work and stories. My guest today is Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. How are you doing?
Hi, Nathan. So nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So please just give the audience a little introduction about yourself and your photography for those watching.
Sure. I've been a photographer professionally for almost 20 years. Started back as a hobby and just sort of turned into something that I wanted to do all the time. I kind of grew up in a very like mid blue collar household where you did not do art for a living. It was just not something that my parents focused on as a priority for like how to make money or how to have a stable life. And so it took a little while for me to shift from my background in architecture and design to doing photography full time. And very thankfully, I found a much happier place doing this. And love to share with anyone that's trying to start out a creative business that you absolutely can make a stable living doing photography or art.
Where are you located exactly for those
Um,
people watching?
yeah, so I work between San Francisco and San Diego. I also shoot in LA and in Houston and in Dallas, Texas.
Which one of these locations is most of your time spent in, or is it pretty split
It's
evenly?
split fairly evenly between San Diego and San Francisco, and then
Okay.
the other locations kind of as booked as needed.
And do you have any hobbies outside of photography that
I
you enjoy?
Yeah, I have lots of hobbies. My boyfriend has two kids, so my favorite thing in life is children. So I spend as much time with them as I can. Just they're preteen girls, so anything to do with preteen girls is super fun for me. I also, just kind of as a side, something that I really love is I teach a little class on self love and meditation for children. So that's kind of
Oh,
something that I spend a lot of time on the side doing.
I really think they should teach more yoga, meditation, all that stuff in school when kids are younger, just to
Absolutely.
get them those good habits
Yeah,
early on.
absolutely. It's very helpful.
Let's get to your picture showcase here.
Thanks.
I'll go ahead and share 1 second. Okay, can you see that
Yes.
picture all right?
Yep.
Yeah, please just go ahead and tell us the story behind this picture and why you wanted to feature it.
Well, as I mentioned to you before we did this call, women and their femininity is really what I focus on with my work. So nudes, fine art, maternity photos, really just bringing a woman back to her essence as a woman, her femininity, and kind of in every way that that looks in a woman's life. So in this particular photo, this is a boudoir shot. So this is really reconnecting a woman to her actual physical body. And what's important in this shot for me, or with any of my shots, is that they are elegantly done, but also in a way that really does look like a art portrait. So I love this picture. I love how white and clean it is, where she is sort of, it's like kind of reverse sculpture, like old sculptures are all white in like a colorful
Yeah.
room. This is kind of the reverse of that, where she is the alive sculpture, but it looks very sculptured. She's surrounded by sculpture, so a little bit of a modern take on the old kind of medium of sculpting the body. So we sculpted it with light.
Was this in a museum or your studio? Where was this location?
This was in my old
Uh,
studio in San Diego, which sadly no longer exists. And at the time, I was dating a sculptor. So those are his sculptures on the right, and just a piece of sculpture that I had on the left, the body. And so I just thought it would be very beautiful to surround her in other pieces of art, with her being the central piece there.
That's very convenient to be dating a sculpture
It
when you're a
was.
photographer.
Sadly, his sculptures and he have left, but I have this beautiful, beautiful work of his to commemorate.
Yeah, this picture reminds me of something out of Game of Thrones or ancient Greece, something like that. I like it.
Thank you.
Okay, let me stop sharing for a second. I think you talked a little about this, but maybe go into a little more detail on how you got into photography to begin with.
So, um, uh, back in like early 2000s, I began traveling quite a bit on my own. And I went for 3 weeks to Paris and spent some time just getting to know the city and traveling around. And I took my camera with me. I was alone. So when I came home, I had over 12,000 photos and just didn't mean to take this many. It was just such a love and such a hobby and such a fun thing for me to do. And when I got home and was kind of sharing the photos with other people, they were like, "Why aren't you doing photography?" And again, I just had this long-standing kind of subconscious belief that you couldn't make a good living doing photography. My dad was actually a hobbyist photographer, and so I had spent some time playing around with his cameras as a child, but never really, through him, really never believed that that was something that I could do for a living. So, in the meantime, after my trip to Paris, I studied architecture and did that for about 15 years. And then I moved to Dubai in 2007.
Wow.
And I was working doing architectural lighting design there. And the company that I was working for hired me to do the photography of their projects. And so I was traveling around the Middle East photographing their projects and fell in love with architectural photography and found like something different about photography that I really liked. And just sort of coincidentally, my friend worked for the top fashion photographer in Dubai at the time. And he needed some assistance with like business planning. And that was something that I really enjoyed doing and something that I was kind of good at. And so I traded doing some business planning for him with him teaching me some studio photography. And then I fell
Wow.
absolutely in love with studio photography. And he taught me about studio lighting and all kinds of things. And so part of the trade was that he would review my portfolio of pictures and give me critique. And so as
Yeah.
he started to go through them, he really shared that he didn't have a lot to critique. I mean, he did a little, but mostly the message that came was, "You need to be doing this for a living." And so
Wow.
when I moved back from Dubai, I had a little bit of savings, and I bought a good camera when I was in Dubai. And I decided that I would give it a year and see how it went. And if it worked, great. And if not, I could always go back to architecture. And a year later, it was going great. And 17 years later, it's still going great. Still loving it. So,
Wow. You're Jill of all all trades
well,
here, all types of
definitely
photography.
not. Definitely.
I'm curious, what was your photography you did in Paris? Was it mostly architecture or landscape while you were in Paris when you first started?
It was a little bit of landscape. It was a lot of plants. I sort of became obsessed with doors, and I had a whole collection of doors because the doors in Paris and all around Europe are so unique and beautiful. So I have like an entire collection of just door photos. Um, but the buildings were so pretty, the art, the plants, the nature, the people. It was sort of, an amalgamation of everything that you experience as you travel, bookstores and the food and all kinds of things. It was like anywhere that I went, I was taking photos of something. So just whatever piqued my interest at that time.
We could probably be here for another couple hours just hearing stories about Dubai, but I do want to get to your next picture
Thank you.
here. All right, can you see that one?
Yes.
Sure. Now tell us about this picture here. Very interesting.
Yeah, I love this photo because so most of my work, my most prominent niche is maternity photography. And, there's tons of maternity photographers out there, beautiful, beautiful work. A lot of the body or a lot with fabric that's flowing or whatever. And that kind of becomes kind of the typical thing that you get asked for. What I love about this session was this woman came in and she basically said, "I love your photos. I'm more interested in your creative talent." And she said, "I know that you can facilitate something that is beyond what I'm seeing out of your work." And she was like, "I love rock music. I don't want to have these flowy fabric pictures. I want something that's more specific to me, a little bit more punk rock, and totally different." And so for hers, we just put on some uh, Sharon Van Etten. I think it was the 17, and she just danced. And I had this great jacket that one of my best friends, who's a fashion designer, designed. And I just thought it would be beautiful in this shoot where, like, instead of the flowy fabric, there was kind of these tassels that were hanging off of it. And we just let her move inside of her own body and not trying to force anything, or it wasn't posed. And there were so many great shots of her moving that at the end of it, I couldn't really pick which shot I wanted as just one portrait. And so I decided to put together this kind of collage of movement and her feeling so confident. She really connected just with the music and with her body and just sort of went crazy with it. And it just is such a beautiful showing of her in that moment. And I didn't want to capture it with just one, so we put, I think there's six pictures there that combined into one.
Yeah, I absolutely feel like I'm at a rock concert just looking at this. It makes me want to dance just
I
looking at this
know.
picture.
And that's exactly what we wanted to create for her. And so frequently with clients like that, I'll create pieces that are meant to be wall art. So this is meant to be printed big and put on the wall. It's not meant to be just, shown as a digital picture. It's much more rich and profound if you see it on large scale. So for certain clients, I'll customize a session for them if I feel like she really asked me for something very unique and special. And she let me do what I wanted to. She didn't have a lot of input. She just said, "I want, I love rock music. What can we do with that?" And this is what came out of it. And I really enjoy that when clients just trust me to do my thing.
Yeah. And you put on music during the shoot
Oh
in the
yeah.
background?
We always do. I always let my clients pick their playlist because I feel they need to connect with something that makes them feel confident or sexy or sensual or whatever. And so this was her playlist that she created for the session, which was, as you can see, turned out
I
well.
like that. Awesome. Okay, before we look at your next picture, a question for you. What excites you to keep going out there and shoot, weekend after weekend, day after day? What really gets you going to keep doing this week after week?
It's really the female clients. So when I had first came back from Dubai, and I'd been working for that guy in Dubai. His name is Tufik, and I really thought I wanted to do fashion photography or weddings, like in a kind of high fashion way. And then I tried both of those things and just hated the modeling. Like kind of that industry was just, I didn't feel like supported women in the way that I wanted to. And then weddings, I just a little bit too introverted for it. It really requires a very extroverted person that is a super people person and wants to talk a lot. And so a lot of my friends actually, when I came back, were pregnant and asked me if I wanted to just practice on them for shots. And so I started practicing on them. and then they kind of spread the word to their friends, and somehow I got put in touch with this woman who came in for a maternity session. I didn't know her, but typically during my maternity sessions, I don't let people look at the back of the camera, because a lot of what I do is post, and the way that I edit it might be
Hmm.
totally different than the way they see it on the camera. But she had asked me if she could take a look, and so I showed her, and immediately she started crying, like hysterically.
Wow.
And I at first didn't really know how to respond to that. I didn't know if I'd messed something up, or she was really unhappy, or just emotional day or whatever. And then she went on to explain to me that her and her husband had exhausted their life savings, and this was their ninth pregnancy. They had lost 8 pregnancies, and the ninth one, which was this one, was actually going to come to fruition for them. And she explained she never thought she would get to that moment where she was about to give birth, and she was about, like, right before her delivery date, just a few weeks before. And so I went on to photograph their baby and a few shoots afterwards. And it's really the connection with women that I feel keeps bringing me back, because there's so much in our society um, that kind of tells women that we're not good enough if we're aging or pregnant, we're gaining weight, or if you're not perfect, or your body's not perfect, or whatever. And so there's all these messages that we get all the time about the image of our body, our self-image. And when you get to experience a woman really feeling beautiful in her body, and feeling very confident and happy with how she sees herself in an image, that's a very powerful moment, and a very powerful connection that you've made with that person. And so for me, it's giving women that, being able to give that and share that with a woman and create that together with them. And there's nothing to me that matters more than that connection that I make with my especially with my female clients. I do shoot men too, but I just have such a soft spot for women. So
Wow,
my ladies
that was
please.
powerful. Thank you for sharing.
Of course.
Okay, let's go to the next one here. Okay, you see that one?
Yeah, I
All right.
love this picture. So um, so most of the time I'm shooting in studio, but on occasion I get the great pleasure of shooting people at home, um, and just sort of in their life. And there is a really famous photographer, and I'm going to blank on his name right now because I'm on the spot a little bit, but he did in the 50s a bunch of these shoots where women were just sort of glamorous in their everyday lives. And so that was the premise for this. And this particular client, anyway, is a very glamorous client. And so I wanted to shoot her and her family in a way that was sort of told a story of, like, how they interacted, and how their family might look just at home, dressed up and being silly outside as a family. So at-home sessions are super fun for me. It shows kind of the lifestyle of my client in their everyday life, and then we can either spruce it up with fancy clothes, or do it more casual. This happened to be a fancier dress, but nonetheless, like, just a fun lifestyle at home shot. So showing a woman in her at home lifestyle.
Yeah, I love the little atmosphere, the plants and the palm trees and the cactus give to a
Yeah,
very California vibe.
yeah, it was a great mid-century modern house to do that.
The
So,
next one. Go ahead and tell us about this shot.
so for many of my new moms, breastfeeding can kind of be its own journey for them. And for many, it's quite challenging. It doesn't come as natural as a lot of people think that it's going to. Um, but it can be a very special time for the mother and the baby. And so this client asked me for a breastfeeding session, which I do quite frequently. And she wanted to be glammed up, so we put her in a glamorous dress and like turn the fan on, and you get this like supermodel breastfeeding shot that's just stunning. And it's so sweet of her, just sitting and holding her baby, but also she looks like a goddess. So I love kind of giving women an opportunity to feel like they're on a fashion set. That's probably from my experience working with the fashion photographer. But just, an everyday woman. She's not a model, even though she looks like one in this photo. And so that's kind of fun to give everyday people the chance to really feel like a supermodel. So
It's perfect pose with the baby too. Like you can barely see the eyes and
yeah,
cute little foot sticking out. That's hard to get them
yeah.
lined up perfectly like that.
He was very happy. As a babies usually on set don't want to kind of sit still and do anything, but breastfeeding was the perfect way to get him to be still. So it worked out really well. And I also always like to shoot in a way that is elegant and tasteful. And I think that this picture kind of encapsulates those things.
Yeah, I think like you said, the fan and her hair being blown really adds a little power level, right? A power
Mm-hmm.
kick
Yeah,
to the shot. Like you don't have crazy wind where her hair is like
yeah,
everywhere. It's like just one little strand
yeah.
coming out.
This is one of my favorite shots that I've done of the breastfeeding sessions.
Okay, before we look at the next couple pictures, do you have a piece of photography advice you'd like to pass on to new photographers or something you've learned over the years that you really
Gosh,
feels
I don't know
worthwhile?
how I would start. Have a list of those, but um, probably the first thing I would say is don't start working and selling yourself till you feel like you really do know what you're doing, because it's a disservice to you and also the client to kind of get started before you really do know what you're doing. And secondly, once you do know what you're doing, don't undersell yourself, because there's a lot of people that are really talented and doing great work, but they're selling themselves for $100, $200 a shoot, and you can't actually make a living or actually even create a healthy business that way. So that's something that I feel I see a lot, where there's a lot of talent, but not really, the business part is not really working very well. And it undervalues them, and it also brings the whole industry down a bit when people are selling themselves too short. And anyway, they'll burn out and feel, you know, like they're not getting what they need. So I actually do some coaching along these lines for people who want to start a photography business. I give photography business classes to help train them in how to start a business where they can actually make a profit and take care of themselves. And it's an expensive industry. There's a lot that goes into it. Have good gear. If you're doing studio, then you need studio lighting and a studio space. And so you want to make sure that you are making enough that you can expand into all the areas that you want to in a healthy way.
Yeah, there's a studio rental cost. There's the editing time. A lot of photographers forget to factor in the amount of time they do editing right
Yeah,
afterwards
I mean,
into their
shooting is
pricing.
only 10% of the work. It's the smallest amount of work is spent on the shoot itself. And I think a lot of new photographers as well as clients don't understand that there's a lot of time that goes into just getting the images prepared. Also for me, I do a lot of consultation with my clients ahead of time to make sure that they are prepared, to also advise them on what they're wearing, what their family's wearing, so that everybody is on the same page and they know how to get what they want out of the session themselves with what they're bringing, wardrobe wise, hair, makeup wise, and all of that. And so for new photographers, I would say also know, like really, find yourself a mentor, someone that can kind of guide you to understand all of the elements of what it takes to put a really great shoot together.
All right. Well, let's take a look at some more pictures. All right. Tell us about this shot.
This photo, this woman was just so stunningly beautiful naturally. And then she had brought this scarf and thought maybe we would use it. And then and I said, how would you recommend that we use it? And she was like, well, maybe I could put it up kind of in a traditional African hairstyle or kind of a head cover. And it just turned out so beautifully with her skin color, with the belly, with the light. And she literally looks like a goddess. So just there, you never know like what small little accessory is going to change the dynamic of the picture completely. It would have been a beautiful photo without the headpiece, but that scarf to me just really makes that entire image pop and also tells the story of her. It gives her some cultural relevance and meaning and beauty there as well to kind of bring in her culture to the photo. So it's more kind of a deeper way of telling the story of her when there are these personal objects or accessories that get added to a session. And this is one of my favorite photos as well because of that.
Okay. I think we have some more too. There. These girls or women are all business.
All business. So actually, the woman in the background came to me many years ago. I've been shooting her for 12 plus years, probably. And I photographed her pregnant with three of her four children, um, and sorry, two of her three children, and then family pictures, everything. And then a few years ago, she and this other woman, Yasmin, they decided to start a legal business together. And what I love about kind of that focus of women is that there are all these facets of a woman where, I photographed her as a mother, as a pregnant mother, with all three kids or just one kid. And then now as a powerful businesswoman, powerful attorney, starting a new chapter of her life as an entrepreneur as well as a mother. So it's just really amazing to me to capture all of the aspects and facets of my clients. And so that's why when people ask me, what is your niche? I say the feminine or a woman. It's not just about when she's pregnant or when she's with her kids. It's about kind of the whole piece of her, like what is the whole picture of her as a human. So really enjoyed this photo because she looks like a boss lady, which she is. And she's also in my other photos of her, a very soft, gentle mother. So I love showing people, even for themselves, to see these different aspects come out of themselves, of who they are, is very rewarding.
Okay, so a couple questions for you before we look at some of your final pictures here. Have you ever thought about what you want to happen to your photos when you die, when you're no longer here? All these amazing shots that you've taken in your lifetime.
It's funny because I don't ever think about that. I just, I have for the past 17 years not ever deleted a photo for any of my shoots because I always think if one of my clients were to want to come back and have something that I would have it. But as far as for myself, I haven't really thought about that.
You don't care?
No, because I don't feel like I'm shooting necessarily for me. As long as my clients have what they want and they have their meaningful photos of their family, like to me, my job is done there. Like it's not, I'm not putting these up in a museum or selling them as like pieces of art or anything, individually anyway. And so as long as my clients have what they want, I guess I feel like my work is complete.
And what about if you could do a photo shoot with any celebrity, alive or dead? Is there any celebrity that you'd love to do
Oh
a
gosh.
photo shoot with?
Really might sound a little cheesy. It's not a celebrity, but I would love to have been able to photograph my own mother. She
Oh,
passed away about 13 years ago. Before, actually, no, longer than that, it was before I became a portrait photographer. So, yeah, I mean, if I could really go back, it would be her, or perhaps my grandmothers who had passed before I became a photographer. Um,
I'm sorry to hear that.
no, no, not it's
Would
no. I mean,
Are you okay saying what happened to her, or?
yeah, I mean, that's a longer story, but she passed away quite early. And actually, one of the reasons why I became a photographer specifically for women is I never really had, we had gotten a photo shoot done when I was like 10. And that's the last photo that I had of my mom that was taken with me. And so
Oh, wow.
I feel it's super important to get photos of your mom with your mom. You never know how long you might have them. She died when she was 54, so just something that's very special to me, and I wish that I could have the time to photograph her now.
I'm sure she would love that too, to see your
Yeah,
skills
she would have
in action.
for sure. And speaking of
All right, so we have another.
beautiful
Oh,
mothers,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, I love this picture so much. I don't know, it's kind of small on the screen, so I'm not sure if the viewers will be able to tell, but this woman,
All right.
this is her fourth baby, and she had three boys and then gave birth to this beautiful little girl. And you can't see because it's kind of small, but there's a tear running down her cheek because in the middle of the photo shoot, her baby's maybe a week old here. She was just so in love and so grateful and adoring of her new baby girl that she couldn't help but cry in the middle of the session. It's just such a sweet, gentle, soft, touching portrait.
It's almost angelic, right? With the bright white
Yeah.
light in the background there.
Well, I frequently photograph babies and mamas this way because I do feel that the connection is quite angelic. It's like it's otherworldly the way that a mom and her new baby connects. And so it feels a little ethereal and very soft and sweet and innocent and pure.
I like it. I like this one a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, let me share another one. Very different than the previous
Yeah.
close up. This is.
Yeah, this is one of the maternity sessions with obviously with this woman's husband, and it's taken in San Diego on Coronado Island. And it's just a beautiful, pristine beach, as you can see there. Like they have the beach sort of alone, and it's a perfectly clear day, and it's just a beautiful, kind of a beautiful shot. I love minimalism, as you can probably see from a little bit of a pattern of that in my photos. I don't try to overdo with a bunch of stuff because I feel like my subjects are actually the art themselves. And I love how clean and minimal this is. Even though they're at the beach, it's obvious that they're at the beach, but it's very clean and simple and minimal. So that's sort of
I'm
it.
surprised you got no people in the shot. Did you have to edit them out, or you just
Actually,
got lucky and there's no people
I don't think that we
that day?
edited any people out of this shot. I'm just looking at it. It doesn't look like any people were edited out. Um, I always pick locations that try to find places where there are just not that many people to start with because it makes it easier to shoot. And you get situations like this where there's no footprints in the sand because they've been washed out already by the water. Um, it's rare, but on some lucky days like this one, we will get a shot like this where there's nobody there.
Good timing.
I was lucky that day for sure.
Okay. Another question for you. Do you have a dream shot that you're hoping to take someday?
Well, I'm actually working on switching gears a little bit with my photography, and that's sort of to facilitate following a dream a bit. So for the longest time, and as a child, I loved painting, and so for a long time, I've had this dream of combining photography with painting. And so, something that I'm working on now is soul portraiture, which is going to be kind of an amalgamation of photography, painting, digital art, some collaging, perhaps some sketching. And I'll be creating actual pieces of art, not just digital photography. There'll be large
Wow.
scale wall hangings. And that really is the dream for me, is to combine kind of these things that I love painting, um, collaging, sketching, and photography all together, and to create something that like really tells a story, kind of more of the soul of a human, um, rather than just the aesthetic.
You can open a gallery, a physical art
So,
gallery someday.
that's my next venture, so we'll see how it goes.
That sounds really, really cool. I have a special surprise for you. I like to do this with my guests to kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm going to show you one of my pictures and have you critique it and give me your point of view
Okay.
on it. All right, let me get it ready here. Since we're talking about relationships,
Oh, what a sweet photo. Oh, that's really beautiful. Where is this taken? Is it in San Diego at the at in
I think this
Ocean?
was in Ocean Beach. I
Yeah,
think that's the Ocean
exactly.
Beach pier there in the background.
It's so sweet. Yeah,
Before it got shut down, you can see people on the pier.
yeah. It's a gorgeous shot. I love silhouettes. I mean, the light in San Diego is just unbeatable at the beach, and I love how you caught the sun just right under the pier like that. You can see some rays of sunshine coming out there, and just the sweetness of the mom holding that little girl's hand as she kind of ventures toward the water. It's very sweet. It's nicely composed, where you have them kind of central, and then the pier itself is sort of at the 1/3 mark, which compositionally is really nice, and the bottom of the water is at the 2/3 mark. So yeah, really nicely composed. The color's beautiful. Definitely very representative of the colors and the beauty of the light that is there down in Ocean Beach. I know that beach very well. So yeah, I think it's lovely. It's a gorgeous shot. Very well done.
As you can see, I was waiting for the sunset, and this sunset, there's no clouds in the sky. It was going to be a boring sunset, so I tried to get some kind of shot, and luckily, I just saw
Yeah,
this
it's
mother and
great.
daughter walking into the
Beautiful.
frame.
Oh, so it wasn't planned. This was just an accidental
No,
shot.
this is candid. Yeah, this is candid
Gorgeous.
shot.
That mother, it's too bad she doesn't have this shot, because that's a really beautiful one.
Yeah, sometimes if I do candidly take someone in a shot, I'll give them my card.
Yeah, it's
I
a
can't
great.
remember if I gave her my card or not. I don't think so, but yeah.
Well, fingers crossed that you did, because like the little bird in the corner, it's a beautiful, beautiful photo.
Thank you. Thank you.
What
All
is your
right.
what is your what's your focus with your photography?
I do a lot of sports and street photography,
Oh, cool.
so events.
Yeah,
So
that's
kind of the opposite of
yeah.
you. I just shot the Bulls Only rodeo in
Oh, wow.
Lakeside.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, I come from
Yeah.
Texas, long line of rodeoers. That's a really fun thing to shoot, and very fast moving. I hope you have a super fast camera.
Yeah, I had the 7200 f2.8,
Nice.
and for the first time I attached a GoPro
Oh, wow.
while I was taking street photography. So if you're on my YouTube channel, if you look at the previous video to this one, it's my GoPro footage of me taking pictures of people, which is kind of
Oh gosh,
interesting.
that's super cool. I'll go check that out. Well, congrats on some great work, and it sounds like you have an interesting practice yourself. So wish you all the luck, and thank you so much for having me on.
Before we go, what is the best way that you want people to contact you? Instagram, your website? How do you prefer
Oh,
people to contact you?
either if you're posting something about me on this video, you could link either Instagram or my website. Either one would be great. They kind of refer back to each other, so either one is good. Instagram
Okay.
is probably a little bit more is just easier, but they both work.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Love looking at your pictures, and I'll see you on social media.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Have a wonderful day.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye, Tiffany.